Hello YouTube, it's Trust. Sorry it's been a while, I've had some battery issues, and also, I've been touching grass. Today we got a special guest on the Bear Hug Radio. This special person wears many hats. He is a teacher, he is a dad, he is a project creator, and he's also a mod on the greatest NFT project ever, the OK Bears. This special fella is really knowledgeable on what it takes for a project to succeed. He is a wonderful human that I now call a friend. His name is Mr. Burns.
Yeah, so let's start with you. I ask people why they choose the tag. But after talking with you yesterday, you told me that you started an NFT company called Burning One. So I'm assuming that you're Mr. Burns because of the Burns and not because you're a Simpsons fan.
Yeah, I mean, I love Simpsons. But yeah, no, Mr. Burns comes from a cryptocurrency and NFT that myself and a couple of my best friends started. And it's called Burn One. The whole purpose of it was to raise money for cannabis reform. And so we raised probably like $50,000 or $60,000, spent tens of thousands of hours, met some really, really incredible people, formed a board. It was legit. It lasted for about a year. We partnered with this guy called Angelus, who he was Snoop Dogg and Tupac's producer back in the mid to late 90s, and he was arrested for about $1,000 worth of cannabis, and he was sentenced to 57 years. He was 21 years old. 57. It was like 57, and then mandatory minimums. It was something like 102 years or something like that. I mean, it was really insane. And so he set this precedent. He was arrested and sent to prison, and he was eventually released by Obama and then pardoned by President Trump, and he became really kind of like the face of cannabis reform and cannabis clemency in the United States. And so we partnered with him and did an NFT. We launched it. It didn't go very well for everybody in the audience. It is really, really incredibly difficult, not only to be a founder, but to just do well, to just do okay. We're all about okay. It was hard, and we had connections, and we had an unreleased Snoop Dogg song, and we were partnered with Black Comic Books Collective. Like, we were at South by Southwest. Like, we had coverage, and the way that OK Bears hits, it's special. You don't have something that's special, something can flop, and you think it's awesome. So anyway, it was a really cool project. It led to a lot of doors opening for us, and that's where Mr. Burns come from.
Why did you choose cannabis reform out of all of the things that you could have embarked on?
There is, there's a need for it. B, my best friend and partner, it really kind of like changed his life. He had some problems in high school. I had problems in high school too, but he got kicked out of high school because of getting busted with cannabis in high school. And it's the prohibition of cannabis is probably one of the biggest social justice issues in the United States. I mean, it's huge. There's 40,000 people who are in just in the United States who are in prison who would not be in prison if they're arrested today. And so 99% of it was really to help people, and we all felt really passionate about bringing blockchain to cannabis. There's an interesting Venn diagram where you've got prohibition on both sides, government about blockchain and its utilization, banking, and then social justice issues that are aligned with cannabis reform. And so plus we came up with a really awesome name. We thought it just all kind of meshed really well at that point.
Are you linking cannabis with NFT, or is it more for injustice? Do you feel like you are similar to Stoned Ape Crew, or are you completely different?
Really, really different. So the NFT that we launched was a portrait. It was a generative art portrait that was done by this American comic book artist, John Jennings. He does Afrofuturism. And so we partnered up with him and Black Comics Collective. And basically John did all of these different layers, and I did the developer work for generating the artwork and putting it all together, running those scripts. And the issue is that it's just not a portrait. A single portrait is not hype. We were hoping that people would hop on because they wanted to take part in kind of the mission. But unfortunately, when we're talking about NFTs and people are saying, oh yeah, it's for the art, not everybody's in it for the art. And I think probably 98% of people are not in it for the art. Some people were, and we sold it to them, and they were really excited about it. And they were excited about the fact that they got this really incredible piece of art, and it did something really incredible. and helped out a man who was wronged by our federal justice system and felt like they were doing something positive with their money. So it's really tricky. People think, I hear it in Discords all the time. They're like, oh man, we should start a project. And that's kind of like where my mind started also, like, oh, I could do this. I could pull this off. And the reality, it takes tens of thousands of hours to be successful.
You said 98%. I think that's more accurate. I was going to say 90% of people are here for the money. I think what's happening is people come in for the money and then they see the community after. You said it was unsuccessful, or are you still working on it right now?
Well, we just didn't really sell any.
You didn't mint out?
No.
Okay, so my question to you is, if you were to do something different, what is one or two things that you might have done differently?
So if I were to do that over again, I would probably do a significantly smaller collection, like a very, very limited, smaller collection. We were really thinking big. What we wanted to do really was to give Weldon the kind of funding that would allow him flexibility and the ability to travel and to hire assistants and really just do anything that he needed in order to get the job done. And so we had really big dreams. I think that they're doing a single portrait, unless it's a really small collection, I think that doing a single portrait was a decision that we should have thought about more. We actually we have a connection at Super Rare, and so some of our decision making was more about the possibility of actually launching through Super Rare. And so we made an application to launch as their first generative project, and it didn't happen. So as we were doing the work, we were thinking it's a legitimate artist, going both like to Black Comics Collective and also to Weldon. And so we had higher hopes than what ended up happening.
I feel for you, man.
It's hard, and it's okay. And it is what it is. Through that mint process, we still were able to donate 10,000 to Weldon, and I'm happy. I would have been happier if it was more, but it's all a good learning experience. And going through the process of being on the back end, setting up a mint, and what it takes, what goes into it, some of the problems, thinking about your community, thinking about who your audience is, who's actually going to buy it, working on the marketing. It was an incredible experience. One wild thing that happened was we were featured in High Times, and 16-year-old Mr. Burns never would have, in his wildest dreams, staring at pages of High Times, would have envisioned, holy cow, I am going to actually be in High Times at some point. Doing a fundraiser, but still being in High Times, incredibly cool.
Do you plan on doing another project like that?
To be honest, not really, no. I had dabbled in a couple other projects that I was considering minting on Solana. Did the artwork for them, started developing communities, and I think one of the most important things to consider before doing any kind of project is having every single player that you will need be on your team prior to launching. So you need to have an in-house dev, you need to have an in-house artist, you need to have community manager. You have to have all of these parts, and I had 80% of them. And the dev part's really tricky, one little screw up and costs you huge momentum, it's like a tear in the sail, and all of a sudden all your wind can be gone. And we experienced that with Burn One, we had a bunch of times, and had we been less honest, we could have just kept on going, but we saw issues with our smart contract, and we had to pump the brakes. And it's the problem when you're dealing with things that are immutable. You can't go backwards. You have to have dev that knows exactly what they're doing, whether it's Web3 or whether it's even just dealing with website issues. Yeah, it's tricky.
All right, let's talk about you. I'm sometimes running after my tail. How do you balance a home life, professional life, and even parent life too?
It's really hard. I think I grew up with a mother who worked multiple jobs. She had 4 kids. She was a single mom, and she worked ass off all day and all night. And I do the same thing. It's just a matter of the time that I try to spend when I'm wearing my dad hat. I try to be as plugged in being a dad as possible. The times where I'm working, I try to, whichever job it is, I try to work as efficiently as possible so that I work. I try to encapsulate my work time in work time. Web3 builds into all other times. It's really difficult. Super, super difficult trying to compartmentalize things. But it's balancing family life with work life is when it's family time, time, and then when it's not family time, it's go time, and that's kind of my thing. I get up really early and I stay up late.
Sacrifice the sleep.
Yeah, I'll sleep when I'm dead, kind of.
Yeah.
My mom was a really good example for me. She worked her ass off and still does, and in order to provide for us, and so I try to do the same thing.
Cool, man. So what was your first NFT?
So my first Solana NFT was Soul Sisters.
Okay.
I have a buddy who, he was like, dude, this is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be amazing. Their current floor price is 0.25 Sol right now, which is like, it's like $1 or something. It's not really $1, but damn, Sol is like really hurting. So it's 10. It's like $8. But yeah, I saw what they were doing. I saw the fact that they were supporting women in blockchain, and I really liked that. I was impressed by some of their roadmap. I know they wanted to make a video game, which, quite honestly, like, there's so much bullshit people call it utility. It's not really utility. Like, it's just doing something.
Yeah, merch and
yeah, it was, whatever. Anyway, so that they're actually still working on this game and they're going to release it soon. At the time, it was a 2 Sol mint, and this was in November of 2021. I mean, it was $500 to mint this, and it is worth $8 now. I mean, it's
okay. Yeah, like, honestly, I don't know the project. It just made me laugh because everyone has their own story about how they got in, and how, like, a friend or you heard about it, like, oh my god, you gotta do it, and then, like, you end up putting money and then it drops to zero.
But I was started in ETH, had a lot of success with picking the ETH NFTs that I bought into and hung with, and when I got big into Stoned Ape Crew, and I was lucky to mint them. People talk about Ponzi and staking, and in ETH, I waited for like 5-6 months for a project to come out with staking, and they just, they made like $1.5 million or $2 million on mint. The weeks would pass by, and I'm like, what? What the hell are you guys doing? And the reality is that, like, on Ethereum, there's not a lot of utility that you can create. I mean, I'm sure that somebody's coming up with something, but when gas is $100 in order to send a token somewhere, I mean, it's just as like, it's crazy town. So Solana was impressive to me that, like, you actually could do stuff with the smart contracts, that it's functional, that there are projects like Famous Fox, that, like, they actually do shit. And so, when I came to Solana and really I fell in love with Stoned Ape Crew. It was incredible. When the staking was good, the staking was really freaking good. It's like DGods right now.
Yeah.
Assuming that
the Puff token was...
Yeah, the Puff token was great. The Puff token, at one point, I was making like 30 Puff per NFT. I was pulling in, like, I was making like $200 a day or something. I mean, it's freaking awesome. I had a bunch of those apes.
How many did you have?
11.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I had a bunch, and it was awesome. But the issue with, and why I have been really supportive of this culture shift that OK Bears talks about is that, when it's good, and when it's bad, it is dump fest. It's real bad when the only thing you're hanging out for is staking, and making like a couple bucks a day. It's really not worth it, or less. When I started hearing about OK Bears and that meta shift and the culture shift, I was really excited, and still am. I think that OK Bears is going to do some stuff that people aren't really ready for yet in Solana.
When did you enter into the OK Bears? Did you mint?
I didn't mint, but I bought one at 7.
Okay, so
I bought one at 11. And I bought one at 20, and then I bought one at like 34, and then I bought one at 80, and I, have kind of continued accumulating. And yeah, man, I'm all in. I'm all bear.
Oh man, that's amazing. I wish I had more liquidity. If I buy more bears, my wife would kill me. So
it was the nice thing about staking. I gotta tell you, it allowed me, and like staking, there's really good things to staking. The issue is that there has to be a mechanism that will keep the liquidity going.
Sorry to interrupt this podcast, but if you can hit the like and subscribe button, it really helps this podcast grow.
I'm curious to know if you think the Stoned Ape Crew are going to go back, or it just ran out of...
So with Stoned Ape Crew, one of the things that they've struggled with, and not talking trash or anything along those lines, I still appreciate the project, I appreciate the art. They inspired me in a really, really big way, because what they were doing initially, they had really gamified your NFT experience. They started out with sending your apes on a mission, and it pulled all the apes off the market, but you were playing a game. It was really cool. It was really exciting. You got your nuked ape back. All of a sudden your nuked ape was staking. One of the things that they struggled with, and I think a lot of NFT projects struggle with, is this bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, right? So like there's always this desire to get merch to people and to do something in a Web 2 fashion. And I think it's a really difficult gap to jump. You know, they came out with their moon fuel and it's cool, but it's not, and you know, it's not going to be immediately. It's not now. You know, like it takes a long time to develop those Web 2 relationships and to get merchandise into storefronts, where if Stoned Ape Crew suddenly is selling tons and tons and tons of vape pens or moon fuel or whatever the hell it is that they're selling, and those funds are going directly into the liquidity of Puff, and it's buying Puff. So like you have to have that circular economy where like Web 2 is feeding into Web 3. If you have that, then all of a sudden staking, in my point of view, if you have that circular economy, like all of a sudden then staking is not Ponzi. Then staking is like you're hitting the feeder bar, you know, but you have to set it up. Like you have to think about it before you just go and start releasing tokens.
Definitely. I talked to other project owners. A lot of people think that like you need not a Web2 business and stuff, but you need a revenue that's gonna like circulate back in the pool.
There's a Web3 animator called Frens, and they animate individual NFTs, but also like whole projects. They've done work for eGods, they've done stuff for Kets, they've done stuff for Solana Hills. They do really insane. They did the whole Nuked Ape and Stoned Ape Crew animation, and what they do is they do a 25% rev share. So every time that they do a project, an animated project, take 25% of that, and then they do a rev share with all their holders and just airdrop Solana. It's awesome. It's not Ponzi. Like you're buying into supporting a project. Yeah, and like that to me makes sense as far as like you're not even staking. If you're unstaked, you get part of the rev share. If you are staked, if you are not listed, you get part of the rev share.
I heard they were supposed to do the OK Bears, because the OK Bears is a no-brainer. People will pay for it. Let's say you have to pay 2 SOL for it. You get your bear, people will pay, and then 10,000 of them, at least half of them will pay, and that's 10,000. If you get 25% share, man, like.
So the interesting thing, and I'm gonna not comment on the OK Bear question, but the interesting thing about what they do is they're able to actually offer animation for very, very inexpensive pricing when they're doing volume. You know, if they do 10,000, they wouldn't need to charge 2 SOL per animation, because they actually use AI and they have scripting that allows for taking all the different layers and actually creating fully animated, individualized animations for every single different NFT. So because of that, because it's like they've got this secret sauce, they can do your animation for like 0.2 SOL.
So
I mean, that's nothing. If somebody said, "Hey, could I animate your bear for 0.2 SOL?" I'd be like, "Yeah."
I mean, it's markup, right? So maybe they'll charge you 1 and then take the, what I mean, or something.
Nope. It's that's effectively what their pricing is. It's somewhere around. I've been with them since Mint, and I'm pretty close with the CEO. He's a really, really cool guy. Also Canadian.
Oh.
Yep. The North Americans representing. But their whole team's Canadian. Yeah, it's they're super, super reasonable. They do incredible work, and it's like 0.2 SOL or something in order to do the animations.
Yeah, it's really cool. It reminds me also similarly to like Gothic Degens that like do projects, it's a little different, where instead of animating, they goth it, I guess.
Yeah.
But super interesting ideas. There's infected mob where they're infecting people, and yeah, it's super cool.
They're doing some Coral DAO. I don't know 100% what is going on, but I keep seeing the post.
Yeah, I think
there, so I haven't been following too much.
10,000 is really big, and even they did it with the primate, and I don't know which DAO it was, but it wasn't the whole collection, and it actually, the price went so up because if you were holding the primate and the infected mob and another collection, you got like an airdrop or something. Or you're gonna get an airdrop for the DGod one or something like that, something crazy, and that's why it went up like crazy. And It's just a really crazy marketing. You make partnerships with great DAOs for great projects, and then you market it super well. It gives you a very, very solid incentive to hold at a high level to it. The infected mob primate was more expensive than the actual primate, and there was only like 500 of them, though. It was a very small collection. So
the one thing I have to say, though, well, the last thing I guess is that one thing I do see with projects is that they kind of like hop onto doing something like an animation, and that's kind of like they're like, this is what we're doing, and it's such a bad idea to have that be like the be all and end all. It's a value added. You know, like it's something, it incentivizes you to do it and increases your value, but like the project itself needs to continue pushing on. And that was one of the things that, you know, Stoned Ape Crew, they ended up like doing this animation, and the animation in itself was something, it was like the be all and end all, like it was this big thing. Whereas, you know, the reality is that like the animation's awesome, but the project needs to be creative enough to carry themselves on their own steam.
Because it didn't move, like it was just a bad timing. I think when it came out with the joint that would make them animate and stuff, I saw a lot of the animated Stoned Ape Crew on the bottom, you know what I mean? I almost picked up a few. Now the price is like, it's really down.
It's like, yeah, it's like
16
20 something. Yeah, it's tricky, but you know, the animation is incredible. It's just puts a lot of emphasis on the team doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about OK Bear. This is our project. This is our love and our community. So you said you had 5 bears?
I have 6. Yeah.
I'm jealous.
I'm lucky. Technically, I have 7 because I got my honorary.
I mean, that's awesome. So you're a mod, for those of people that don't know.
I don't know, maybe like a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, I became a mod, and then I joined the team actually a week ago.
Yeah.
So an official team mod.
What are your tasks as a mod? What do you have to do personally?
Just mainly Wagbo.
So you spam Wagbo in the chat?
I like every once in a while I'll throw like a sticker out there. I do a lot. I do a lot of like behind the scenes where I work with other community team members in simple things too, like, you know, just like reviewing applications, connecting with the main team, looking for typos, like it's kind of like silly stuff, but it really is a team effort. Talking about and considering what the best options are for things. You know, there's been a lot of talk about the function of the Discord and how our community acts. It's really nice because I'm brought into a lot of those conversations. As far as like day-to-day stuff, really my job as a mod is to step back and sense how the room is going, to ask people questions, to engage the community. It really is, it's really a lot of fun. It has changed my interaction in the community a little bit, just because a lot of the times I'm more just reading the chat room and just reading and trying to follow along. I try to take, you know, really it's like kind of taking the temperature of the community. And then the mods end up dealing with a lot of questions from community members. We end up answering a lot of questions over and over and over and over again. You know, like the number of times people have asked me, you know, where do they redeem their wristband from? Oh God, I probably should have that as my only copy and paste function, or like a hotkey on my phone or something.
Control 1 is the...
Yeah, basically it gets asked so many times throughout the day. I mean, it's really incredible.
To be honest, like it took me about a month to get my application through because I had my bear on
Ledger.
Yeah, my ledger. And then I just got fed up. I just went in the chat and I'd be like, why is it not working? And then someone says like, it can't be on a ledger. And I'm like, that would have been nice to know. Because I was in Korea when you guys had the launch, I guess. So I had to do it when I came back, but it took me about 2 weeks to actually get that thing going.
Ledgers are awesome and also really annoying, to be honest.
All right, so let's say I want to be a mod. What do you think they should do? What did you do personally to get the job? And what do you think people in the community that want to be a mod, maybe another project, what do you think they should do?
Be human. Be human. Be like a real person. You know, Web3 it's a lot of GIFs, it's a lot of goofy stuff, but at the same time, like, you know, with the mod thing, I had DM'd Kai from pretty early on and was just a human to him. I was human to Beck and Subi and everybody. I think that they need to be good humans in order to get hired, because this is a legitimate job. There are security issues with hiring people. There are, especially as you get further into the mod tier, where suddenly you need to sign an NDA. It's an important role. I'm not blowing myself up, but if you wanted to become a mod, being honest, being trustworthy, being positive, and answering questions. I don't think you need to dedicate your whole life to this service, but being a positive influence in the community, I think, is really important. And some people will pop in, we've seen mod applications of people who I'd never even seen them before. They're just throwing in that they want to be a mod, and the reality is that if suddenly I went to go mod in some other community and I have this authoritative position, nobody's gonna want to listen to me. And I've even had that in OKB. There are people who they really only want to listen to Beck, and that's it, and that's okay, and it is what it is. And I have to be flexible as a moderator in that group. I need to know that these are people, and that not only are they people, these are people who are dealing with financial insecurity, and that's a real legitimate thing. So when we see FUD, you're talking about people who maybe bought at 250 Sol, and Sol was $200. That's a lot of money. It's an incredible amount of money. So being empathic and being understanding about where people are coming from and where FUD comes from, it comes from somewhere. It's an emotion. Being acting the way that some people act in the server, it's because they're probably really frustrated about their finances, and I get it. It's scary. So being really flexible, being open with the team, being open with the community, proving that you're a community member. I think that all of that really feeds into what, if I were searching for community mods, that's what I'd be looking for. And we have team builders too that we're looking for. People that are coming up with good ideas, people that are acting on those good ideas. What you're doing with the podcasts. It's fantastic. It's awesome. And this is what I DM'd you the other day. It's necessary. OKB needs people who are out highlighting bears in the community. Your podcast could be freaking huge in a year from now. Really could.
It would be cool if it happened, but I'm just having fun. I'm talking to people all over the world. I talk to people in Bulgaria and UK, in Canada and US. I'm on 6 interviews now.
That's awesome.
It's super fun though. It's just getting alpha, talking to people in real life. I can see you. It's a lot different than talking in the VC, talking on Twitter, or chatting on the Discord where someone everyone's looking and stuff. It's very personal. It's very one-on-one, and man, I'm having so much fun doing this. So to me, I'm getting most out of it and stuff, but I kind of like highlighting people that are doing great things, and Trike, Toilet, and John. Everyone who's been on my podcast has been Yootlist shortly after. But of course, it's not. I'm not saying it's because of my podcast, but this is just to show that there's great people out there.
But it's important, man. It really is. You are part of the builders in our community, and we need that. That's what's going to differentiate OK Bears today from OK Bears a month and a half ago, where the community was dependent on the floor price, and now the community is starting to become dependent on the community. OK Bears and the community are becoming one thing. It's not just the floor price. It's not just the team pushing the ball. Once we get IP, it'll be another explosion too. But I'm loving the building that we're seeing. It's so great seeing some of the DAOs start to have a little bit more structuring, seeing community campaigns that are starting to run, like the toaster. It's great, and it's a really, really different, think back in May, right? We just, as a community, it was just all floor price. We said fuck the floor price, but the reality is that it was a lot of floor price. And the focus today is now it's on the Bears, it's on the community.
The real people are staying, and the people that were flipping are left. It's cool. It's a bear market, and that's where you see who's sticking around and who's not, and it's fine if you left. Or the thing is, the bear market happened in the summer, where people are money's down, I'm down 80%. I'm gonna go, like you said, touch grass. grass. I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna go on vacation. I don't really need to be here because most people, their eyes are not there, and that's where the builders are out there. Yeah, I was gone in Korea for a month. Now I'm back, and like I'm trying to make a video almost every day, editing all the time and building. What do you think about the new hires? Are you closer to anyone? Do you think anyone's more funny or more cool? Maybe you like someone or like talking to someone?
I gotta say, I love the team. It's really great working with them. Don't fade Drims. Never fade Drims. That dude has a brain he's like Giga Brain. It's insane. He is so sharp. Love Drims, love Chad. Beck is a boss. You know, the new hires has been really great to actually get to know them. Eli is fantastic to work with.
Trims is one of the first ones I've talked to because I loved his art, and I really thought that he was one of the bears that added a lot of value because his art is off the chains and he's always active, and I've seen him since the beginning and it just hasn't worked out. Everyone has said yes, they want to come on the podcast. It's just people are just busy, and I do understand.
Yeah, it's tricky. That man grinds so hard. I remember when I first started speaking with Drims, he said to me basically that he is going to make himself invaluable, and he completely did. He has, you know, like if you want to look at a community member who is a builder and who has dug themselves in, he's there. No, he's definitely right there. He's got a knack for Web3. He's got a knack for communities and community building and like envisioning how systems work. It really has been, it's incredible to work with him specifically. But big love for Chad. Love Chad. He's my boy.
You see them talk, but I need to have one-on-one talk with a lot of them, but it's not the same, you know, like, yeah, I don't see their faces. I don't see all I see is them talking on Discord, posting things and stuff. And that's why this podcast is going to be great for anyone who just wants to hear. I've been getting about 50 to 100 views per video, and that means 100 people are getting to know these cool people in the podcast. So that's what's cool.
And it's just going to get better.
Yeah.
A year from now, people are going to look at our Twitter accounts and it's going to say OKBear 69104 or something like that, 6901, right? And they're going to be like, God.
Well, it's going to help that we have Mr. Burns on the podcast. People are going to be listening carefully.
I got clearance from the team first. Subi was like, don't you pull a Kai's, don't do that, no dropping alpha. And you know, I mean, the reality is like talking about OK Bears, it's not hard to not drop alpha. Like it's pretty easy to not drop alpha. I think like for me, before I even joined the team, I've got a pretty good idea about where OK Bears is going. Like use your imagination, you know what I mean? Like, and then I joined the team and I was like, all right, cool. I got a pretty good idea, but like not a lot had changed. It just kind of like some of my hypotheticals that were rattling around in my brain were just kind of verified, it's really good because my notion about the team, as much as like they have to keep a lot of stuff under wraps because of like NDAs and because of agreements that they're going into, it matches up, you know, like what's going on behind the scenes with what I had envisioned was going on behind the scenes. So I'm really happy that when I made that transition, that it was really that what I was seeing made a lot of sense.
I mean, I was going to ask you what you thought about the Bears direction, but I mean, you wouldn't be a mod and you wouldn't be in the team if you didn't think going in the right direction. I'm just curious, did you get Yootlist, and is that something you're interested in?
Didn't get Yootlist yet. I did apply. I have like $3 of dust in my wallet, whatever. I just don't have 30 Sol laying around in order to buy like a giant bag full of dust. I'm glad that they're not minting in Solana, and I hope that they burn the dust or they hold on to it or put it back into like liquidity pool so it goes back into staking, because I think that the transfer of Sol and you know, the ecosystem is, I don't know if it's exactly unstable right now, but people are penny pinching right now, you know, like especially people are saving up for September 2nd. I mean, that's kind of the main thing. But
what do you think is going to be the outcome? I know you don't have a magic ball, but what do you think is going to be the biggest thing that's going to happen from this?
Well, you know, I mean, that being said, I can also do math. You know, I mean, there's 15,000 of these guys. That's a lot. Kind of like an unprecedented quantity. I don't know if anybody's done that on Ethereum yet or not, but 15,000 is a lot, and 10,000 is a lot. So what do I think? People are saying that they're going to go to 200. Can they go to 200, or could they go to 100? They can, but it's a matter of the amount of liquidity that people have available to buy once you get in that range. So I think best case scenario, there's a shitload of ETH eyes that are on the project. I think that Ethereum is, watching Solana right now really, really closely. You see with bears, you see with, even like just on crypto Twitter, you see, so many Ethereum whales are making that shift in Ethereum influencers. And could there be a massive transfer from Ethereum to Solana? I would assume that that's probably happening, behind closed doors. It's slowly happening right now. I think, ETH 2.0 is no shade to any of our ETH friends, but ETH 2.0 is not going to solve scaling. It's not going to solve gas. The only thing that it does is it makes ETH look better to large corporations. Environmentally minded corporations are not going to buy into a proof of works blockchain. They're just Ethereum and Bitcoin. The amount of energy that they use is like it's like the equivalent of like a whole country. It's crazy energy. And so this first step with 2.0 moving to proof of stake, when they do that, it really only is solving the energy issue. And so ETH is still going to have gas problems. As soon as there's the next bull run, gas is going to go right up the freaking. It's going to go sky high again. And so, you have smart money who's looking and saying, hey, I can actually buy high quality projects and teams, buy into that without spending crazy amount of gas. And if I want out, I can get out real easy. So in my estimation, I think that Solana is going to do really, really well in the next year or two because of that transfer.
I have my ear to the ground. I like talking to people like traders and stuff, and it's going to go down before it goes up though. I mean, it's pretty down right now. I'm not a great trader at all. I just like getting into cool communities and stuff, but from what I hear, it's going to go down before it goes up, and it's going to be down for a while. Like you said, a year, maybe more, I think. But I think now is the time to be waiting and putting your chips in the right place so that in the next 2 years, let's say it goes up, who knows?
So here's the thing. This is my take on it.
Okay.
Crypto does kind of like the opposite of what everybody thinks it's going to do. And that seems to be the case. There's an incredible amount of indicators that it's not necessarily going to continue dumping to 9,000. There's a massive amount of Bitcoin whales who are all they're doing is buying and buying and buying and buying and buying. And the RSI was crazy oversold. There are just the number of indicators that are pointing toward the bottom is, I think, probably way more. We already hit it. In June 13th, there's a lot more indicators saying that we have actually already hit the bottom than indicators saying, we're going to 10,000. So I think, some of the FOMC numbers that are coming out and some of the information that's coming out in September could cause some issues. But the reality is that a lot of crypto hedges on, or depends on what the United States is doing for some stupid reason. But the Powell meeting today was not fantastic, or yesterday, or whatever it was, Powell announcement. But in September they announced that they're increasing rate hikes. I think that probably people are now expecting that they're going to increase the rate hikes, and so it could already be priced in. Today's 10% drop could be the priced in drop, and they announce it in September, and it doesn't actually affect anything, and things can kind of continue on. And we knew throughout the whole summer, and we had actually a really good rally throughout the summer. Solana was up 100%. I'm not sold on this concept of the bottom. I think that historically Bitcoin has reached a spot where the bottom of every other bottom, we've seen a significant 80% capitulation. We've seen a lot, and so could there be one more capitulation event? Probably, but I'm definitely not a trader. I'm so much better at just buying and
buying into the good communities and good projects and stuff.
Well, just buying and hodling. You know, I have had more problems trying to flip than just hodling and just sitting tight, making really good decisions. And then I'm is my best informed decision, invest and then wait. That's what always serves me well.
I mean, I do like your analysis and your take on it. I do respect it. What you have to do is look at my next episode. Do you know Kitumu?
I don't know.
you should get to know him, man. He's a really cool dude. He has his project also.
Yeah.
He's a project founder, but he's a trader also, and he gives a 10-minute take on the market and what he expects it to be and stuff. He talks about the US market, and it's just, a lot of people think it's going to be a bull run because of the Yootlist and stuff. Maybe. I think it's going to go up and then either slowly come back down, but I don't think it's going to be a big bull market. But I like listening to other people, what they're thinking, because I'm just listening, and what I do is I just, whatever I hear the most of. A lot of people think it's going to go down, but I respect what you say. If you think we already reached the bottom, it's okay. Everyone has different opinions. Everyone.
So did you buy ABC?
ABC, I have not.
No.
I have not bought anything in a while because I don't trust the market, and I didn't know that HG was a part of the project and stuff, and that's what made it kind of pump. What I liked about it was the zero royalties, and that's what people were begging. Because I'm big on Twitter Spaces. I love going on Alexander's Spaces, and I love listening to people, and like they're basically begging for zero royalties, more more Foxies and stuff, and they think that this is the new meta, it should be that. And then HG does it, and then it goes well. People love the guy. He's a bear holder, and yeah, it's going really well.
He also did something really interesting. We were talking earlier about staking, about how staking is Ponzi, unless you have something that is going to continue feeding the fire, right? And so HGE, he's a smart dude. He did the other day when he opened up his wallet, you just had to negotiate with him 1 to 5 SOL for any one of those bears in that pool. And there were nice bears in there. Like, there were some sick bears in there. There were some like glow eyes, and like there were some really nice bears. They're floor bears, but there are bears in there that were like people loved. And so current thesis is that HGE is going to create an auto swapping NFT pool that basically like it creates all of this liquidity. This is my theory. He's going to create auto swapping NFT pools of all of the NFTs that he is a whale in, and then the liquidity from those pools he could hypothetically take and inject into ABC for staking. And so if he does this, he's basically transferring this liquidity into ABC and allowing for all of these funds to flow through the system. People are really happy because they've all of a sudden they've got a better bear, they've got a better DAA, or whatever it is that he's a whale in. And he's a whale in a lot of different projects. Like in that wallet alone, he had like 2,000 NFTs. I mean, it was, and not shitty ones. Got a lot of them. And so if he can create a protocol that allows for a small trickle of SOL for every purchase, and then that flows back into ABC holders, he's created basically a non-Ponzi staking mechanism, which is really pretty cool.
I mean, you need money to make money, man. It's like,
this is my hypothetical, just based off of what he did the other day, and then launching ABC and talking about how he wants to create a layer 2.
So you're saying I should buy ABC right now, right? How many do you have?
I have 5.
The idea of the art comes from Frens, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. It's got those vibes.
Like the way he pitched it was like Dream World or like Peter Pan style. A lot of people are going with it, like, oh my god, I got a bear with a trophy, and I mean, whatever, it's cool. Like maybe it's just a marketing thing. Maybe it really did bring you to your childhood and stuff.
I think that there's probably been well, I guess, Frens is like, it's equally as crazy, and it did really well. So in my estimation, I can't imagine he's doing it for no reason at all. He's talked about like trying to kickstart the bull market again. I mean, there could be a bull market that's heading up to December, or even a mini one. And so much has changed with all these large organizations that are buying into crypto in general. I'm just going to try to not be surprised with whatever it is that happens.
I mean, I like having everyone's opinions, and that's why you kind of opened my eyes to the possibility that it might not, and you gave valid arguments. But that's why you got to talk to many people. Why do you think this? That's the big one, because I'm often looking at NFTs and like, why did this one pump and this one didn't? So much hype, so much everything. It had the recipe for everything, and then the one next to it, and then the degen plays were the ones that were going crazy, like where it minted for free, and then it's like 2x that project that had so much marketing and stuff. Right. Where you just need to understand the project. From talking to people like this, it just gives you the ideas and stuff, and just like, oh, okay, that's maybe why. But I mean, it does help when HG is behind your project. And like you said, he's not doing that for nothing. So
if he can make the ecosystem better and he can make trading more fluid, and it raises floor prices and people are more liquid and there's a transfer of money, it's a win-win, especially for him. And he doesn't sell, but this is a way, like the auto trading NFT pool, like that's a way for him to get liquidity without having to do anything and without having to sell. So it may be two totally separate things. He may be getting liquidity from somewhere else, I have no idea, but he's talking about it. So
because you were saying like staking is one way to get liquidity, or not get liquidity, but get like value for your NFT and stuff. Kaisa said it a few times where it's like we all want our bears floor price to go up, but no one wants to sell. So how do you get that extra value or that extra? And that the founder coin was amazing. I could sell my founder coin and someone will be happy to get it, happy to come in the community because it's amazing. It kind of doubled our community in some way where a lot of founder coin holders are coming in and seeing the community vibe and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm excited about the future, what future holds for the bears, and continue. I know there's a Gen 2 coming, but like of course not anytime soon, because I remember he's saying at the beginning that it would take a minimum of 6 months just to like get the art right, and I don't want anything half done, and I don't think anyone else wants. So I know that it's in the future somehow.
I think that if we did a Gen 2 right now, it would be like a nail in the coffin. It would be the wrong move. That's just my feeling.
I completely agree. I feel like sometimes it's someone's exit liquidity. Like when a project is like down low, they do like a Gen 2, like you said, and it doesn't go, and boom, it drops the project. I forgot who did that recently, where it was kind of like, hey, I'm gonna do this. They did like a Gen 2, and then boom, the project went to almost nothing.
It would be, the beautiful thing about what's happening right now, and I touched on a little bit earlier, like is that the community is giving the team the space to do what the community wants the team to do, right? The community is handling a lot of the community, and the team is handling the business aspect. And that's the way that it needs to work. And that's probably, realistically, that's the way it really needed to work from the beginning, because of this culture shift where we're talking about, F the floor price. I mean, it's important, but do we do that in Solana? Not really. Like everybody, we get a little bit sketched out if things start moving down a little bit, but it really is important to give the team space to navigate in the IRL stuff that they're dabbling in, or not dabbling, but they're working on.
Because at the end of the day, I know that like some people, like you bought in at 80 maybe, but some people bought in at like 160 or something, and then they saw it drop all the way to 50, and they were panicking. A lot of people, like, it's not the reality of everyone. Where
I got my Lofi for 180.
Your Lofi, that's a Lofi, you know what I mean? Like
floor for 180 would hurt.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna take any more of your time. I also gotta touch grass and stuff like that. I really appreciate you coming on. Our schedules were a bit off and stuff, even though we're in the same time zone. A side note, I think you gotta put batteries into your clock up there, because I was looking at it, like, I'm like, is it moving as you're talking sometimes?
No, the clock says 420. It's been 420 for years.
But I will let you go. Before we go, where can people find you?
I'm in the chat room. My Twitter handle is Mr_Burns_soul. I spend a lot of my day in that chat room, or not a lot of it. Well, actually a lot of it. I'm in and out of the chat room like all day long, starting at about 5 o'clock Eastern and ending around midnight Eastern.
All right, then. Well, thank you very much. It was a real pleasure, and thank you for giving me your time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on.
This was the Bear Hug Radio podcast episode with Mr. Burns. Please go in the description and follow my guy Burns. And if you got this far in the podcast, please make sure you're subscribed and hit the like button. It really helps my channel grow. Please use the comment section to tell me who you think I should interview next.